Hello, everybody, and welcome to Labor Live at 12:05. My name is Alex Jorgensen. I'm the Communications Director here at the Alaska AFL-CIO, and we are back this week talking about another issue that's going to impact Alaskan workers and may eventually impact the Alaskan legislature. We'll go to that in a few minutes. But today we are talking about Medicaid, the importance of Medicaid, what's going on at the federal level as it relates to Medicaid, and how that might impact not only Alaskan workers, but the Alaskan legislature itself. So before we dive into the issue, I wanted to introduce our very special guest, Amber Lee. You may know her, but Amber Lee is the owner of Amber Lee Strategies, where she works on communication strategies for a variety of different clients. Her expertise spans from issue campaigns to candidate campaigns, nonprofit organization, native corporations, and commercial entities. Amber is currently the state director for Protect Our Care Alaska and works very closely with the Alaska Caregivers Union. She is also the proud mother of two teenage boys and is a writer who writes essays and fiction. So, Amber, welcome to the program. We are so excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alex, for having me. Very important topic, very relevant right now, especially. So,
Yeah. And
I
maybe
don't know.
before we really get into the questions, I probably have thought this a couple of times the last couple of years. What is Medicaid? I know there's Medicaid, there's Medicare. They sound similar. Maybe they do similar things, but I know they're very distinctly different. So maybe we could give our kind of audience a quick breakdown of what those two things are.
Yeah, Medicaid really is kind of, I would say, foundational to Alaska's healthcare system. It covers our most vulnerable residents. So it covers it. It'll cover seniors when Medicaid. That's what's different. Medicaid doesn't cover. So Medicaid covers the vulnerable folks, and Medicare, see, they're confusing, covers seniors. So whenever you hit retirement age, you could be covered by Medicare. But it can also fill in the blanks there for those folks too. So you could be a senior, and some things aren't covered by the coverage that you get with Medicaid. So with Medicare, so you'll use Medicaid. I think I just confused everybody.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. So Medicaid is for people who have lower incomes, can fall on the wide range of age ranges. It's not about age, it's about whether or not you're making above or below a certain line that's probably associated with the poverty line. Medicare is for specifically people over 65 or 67 or some age range. Okay.
That is exactly right. So it covers 38% Medicaid of births in Alaska. So it goes all the way from prenatal care up to still covering seniors whenever for things that aren't covered by the insurance that they have. So it's huge for Alaskans.
Yeah. So could you paint us a little bit more of a picture of how many Alaskans like rely on Medicaid for like their daily, yearly like healthcare?
Yeah. So over 250,000 Alaskans are on Medicaid right now.
That's covers, third, right?
Yes. Covers 1 in 3 kids in Alaska. Like I said, it covers 38% of births, and it goes all the way through 12 months of postnatal care to make sure that kids have a good start. And then I think a lot of people believe that, this is people that aren't working all the time. 54% of the people on Medicaid are working people. I just talked to a woman who, she's a caregiver, her husband's a firefighter. They still have Medicaid because they're still below that poverty level. 7 of 9 seniors in nursing homes, 7 out of 9 are covered by Medicaid. And it also is a huge funding component for Indian Health Services. So people who are going to the Yukon-Kuskokwim Health Corporation or whatever Native hospital and getting care, those services are also funded through Medicaid.
Wow. So that is very enlightening. I think a lot of people don't know just how expansive and important Medicaid is. I mean, literally 1 in 3 Alaskans get their healthcare, which we all know is, I mean, everyone needs healthcare.
Yes.
Right? It's not like you can't really exist in this world without healthcare. And if you do, it's not probably a good situation for you. So
Yeah. And the thing is, you need healthcare. A lot of people just wait until they're so sick that they end up in emergency services, and they still don't have coverage. And then it'll be a very expensive bill. So when people have healthcare that they can do preventative healthcare, or they can deal with things as they come up instead of ending up in the emergency room, and that saves consumers a lot of money. It saves the state a lot of money. It saves because the state gets $1.8 billion from the federal government for Medicaid funding.
Wow. Well, yeah, and that's a great segue into kind of the next issue, which is, I mean, obviously, if anyone's been watching the news lately, it's hard to watch the news because it seems like there's something cataclysmic happening every 5 minutes. But yesterday, I believe, House Republicans passed a budget bill, and in that budget bill, there were some pretty significant changes to the way Medicaid is funded, or the amount that's funded. Could you kind of break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah, they are looking at a massive cut to Medicaid. They want to do trillions of dollars in cuts. And unfortunately, Representative Nick Begich voted for it. I can tell you, because I work with caregivers, that there were caregivers in DC at the beginning of February who met with them, and he promised to protect Medicaid. And he still voted for the cuts. But we still have a chance. I mean, this isn't over. This is just started. So it's going to go to committees where they figure out how to make those cuts. Now, the first thing that'll probably go is Medicaid expansion. And it's going to be devastating because Medicaid expansion, the federal government covers 90% of those costs for about 75,000 people in Alaska. Yeah. Wow. And if that goes away, that's a massive hole in our state budget. And it's not like folks aren't going to be sick and need care. That funding is going to have to, and that care is going to have to come from someplace else.
Wow, $250 million. And we hear in the news every day, well, when you follow the legislature, the only consistent thing you hear is that we don't have any money, that we have a lot of problems. So this just seems like this is just making the entire situation we're in way worse.
Way worse. And it's gonna, because it's not like it just doesn't give people coverage. You have thousands of caregivers across the state who won't be able to work because they get paid from Medicaid. Their clients have Medicaid, and they're not going to be able to work. You have people who are trying to live in their homes and who spend money in Alaska, who are disabled or who are seniors, who want to live out their life with dignity and not have to move to the lower 48, who are not going to be able to do that. You have people in nursing homes. Those nursing homes are covered by Medicaid, 7 out of 9 seniors. Where are they going to go if that's not covered? It's going to have a massive financial impact on jobs, on just families, on communities.
Yeah, I think in either House Finance or Senate Finance, there was a presentation by the Division of Legislative Finance. And in that PowerPoint, there was a figure that if the federal government changed and got rid of this 90% of Medicaid expansion, it would cost the state an upwards of $250 million to continue to offer that.
Correct.
So obviously, the choice is either the state forks up $250 million, or they just remove healthcare for 75,000 Alaskans. And as you just stated, that's kind of two-pronged. You have one, people losing their medical coverage, which is devastating. I mean, that's mind-boggling within itself. But then you have this other subset of how many people are going to lose their jobs because there's no longer medical care being provided to those people, and that's work.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, it's jobs. And it's just basic quality of life in Alaska. At some point, somebody who's on Medicaid, and at some point, you are one accident, you're one illness away from needing help from somebody. Right. And you, even if you have quite a bit of money, that money can go very quickly with medical bills. And that is what these programs that we pay into are there for. They're supposed to be this safety net so that you don't end up homeless, that you don't end up bankrupt, that, that you can literally people's lives will be cut short because they won't be able to afford the medicines, the care, the equipment, the surgeries that they need.
Wow. Well, that sure is some very depressing news. But I'm a big believer in that there always is something that we could do. So, is there
Yes.
something that our listeners at home can do right now to try to make sure that this doesn't happen?
Yeah, I would say they should be writing Senator Sullivan and Senator Murkowski, because we're not done, and they need to understand um, how this impacts our state in so many ways. If the state needs to divert money to cover these medical costs, it's coming from someplace else.
Right.
So we don't know what the impact of that will be. I would still, go to your legislative meetings that are coming up when they come back to your community, and tell the legislators to continue to push Senator Sullivan and Murkowski to do the right thing for Alaska. Write op-eds. And if you don't understand the impact of Medicaid, read a little bit about it, and you'll see very quickly that it is something that is, has been very beneficial from Alaska. Medicaid expansion's been a gift to a lot of people and to our state financially.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you heard it here, folks. Like, this is an issue that will impact literally thousands of Alaskans, not only those receiving healthcare, relying on Medicaid for healthcare, but also people that work in the healthcare industry that rely on that federal funding to keep their jobs. So, yeah, exactly what Amber said. You need to be writing Murkowski, you need to be writing Dan Sullivan, and hell, even continue to write Nick Begich on it. Obviously, he voted for
Oh
the
yeah.
bill, so maybe he's less inclined to change his mind, but it's still important to let our congressional delegation know that this is an issue that all of Alaska cares about.
Yeah, he should not get a pass on that vote. People should understand how he needs to understand how people feel about this and why it's important to them. And a lot of times we just reach out to Murkowski because we think she's the only one who'll do the right thing, but Sullivan has to be on board on this one too. So reach out to all three of them and let them
Absolutely.
know what we need.
Absolutely. And as a preview for probably a future Labor Live, it's very interesting when you look at the amount of funding that they're cutting from both SNAP and Medicaid. I think it's about $880 billion. That's coincidentally the same number of tax cuts they're giving to the top 1% of earners in the U.S. So I'm a big believer that
Which,
class
yeah,
warfare is right in front of us. They're dividing us with these culture war issues, and they're taking money from literally out of the pockets of people that need it for their health care and giving it to the people that are so well off they don't even have to think about where they get their health care from.
yeah,
Which in my
which
mind
there
is
are none of in Alaska, by the
exactly.
way. Zero.
Exactly.
We don't have any people that fall in that bracket.
Right. Well, as depressing as maybe this kind of subject can be, Amber, I want to thank you so much for coming on the program. This is another opportunity for our members to get involved in the fight, and make sure that we can protect Alaskans' access to healthcare, and that's through Medicaid and protecting Medicaid expansion. So, Amber, thank you so much for coming on the program. Everyone, thanks so much for watching Labor Live. You will see us again next week, breaking down another issue that impacts Alaska's working families. So until next week, thanks for watching.